You've got troubles, Mac.
The Trojan horse virus. What in the world is that? Well, let's take a moment and go out in the world and ask the average Joe what they think a Trojan horse virus
All right, John, what is a Trojan horse virus?
Am I supposed to answer that?
Yes.
It's a virus that I experienced recently on my computer that wouldn't even let me log in. It cost me, basically it shut down my whole computer and had to have all new guts put in it. And I never heard of it before. And I never want to meet Mr. Trojan again. I do not want to have to take my computer down and have all new stuff put back in it so I can log on. And all my files ruined and everything else. It was new to me, and I don't even like the name Trojan. So, Trojan and virus. I never want to hear those words again.
I can't take it anymore!
The Trojan horse virus is a piece of software that acts in a concealed manner so that you think it is doing one thing, but in reality it is doing something totally different. Unlike most viruses, Trojans don't spread themselves. They disguise themselves as useful software available for download on the internet. It's little Alyssa's 5th birthday, and to her surprise, she was given the computer game she has so anxiously wanted all year, Mini Ninjas. But 2 years later, a pop-up from what appeared to be the manufacturer of her still-adored game expressed that she was in need of a dire update. She subconsciously clicked update, and she got more than an update all right. The Trojan horse virus set up shop in her PC and went right for her family's jugular. The malicious program memorized keystrokes and other sensitive data, which ended in the retrieval of Alyssa's parents' credit and debit card numbers. The Trojan then sent the credit card information back to the hackers, who have been waiting ever so patiently for their hard-earned paycheck. Since clicking what appeared to be an update to her beloved computer game just 2 weeks ago, hackers have successfully attained a $3,000 gross profit in a combination of cash and goods charged to her parents' credit card accounts. So how did the Trojan horse get its name? Well, that's a funny story, actually. According to Greek mythology, after losing the Trojan War, the Greeks constructed a Trojan horse made out of wood as a sign of surrender towards the city of Troy. The Greeks then left the big wooden statue of a horse outside the city of Troy, but inside the belly there were 40 furious soldiers contained. As the Troy soldiers came out, they could not believe this trophy that the king had sent them. They then rolled the Trojan horse into their city, and at night, when Troy was sleeping, all of those 40 soldiers popped out of the belly of the horse and wreaked havoc. What does a Trojan horse do? Hackers hide the Trojan in a program that one would think is useful, even going as far as giving them names relating directly to crucial Windows file names. They can also be injected in free software or software updates, as well as in games or music. There are in fact both malicious and non-malicious Trojans. First, the non-malicious Trojans are used for remote access, remote managing, security software, denial of service or DOS attacks, and forensics. Malicious, on the other hand, first gain direct access to a machine and ultimately end up carrying out a harmful task. They can also attain one's personal information such as passwords, credit card numbers, and other important information. Malicious Trojans can spy on users, change certain files on that user's computer, direct users to other sites, send emails to people within that person's address book, and severely damage one's computer. A Trojan horse can have any one or a combination of the below functionalities. The remote access Trojan is the most frequently used Trojan. It gives the attacker absolute control over one's computer, which basically means every tiny bit of information is attainable. Next, we have the password sending Trojan, which has the intention of copying all of a user's cached passwords and constantly searches for other passwords as a user types them into their PC. Keylogger Trojans hunt out a victim's logs or records and then sends them back to the hacker. It then goes on to search for passwords and other sensitive data. Destructive Trojans have the intention to totally destroy and delete files from a victim's computer. All of their core system files can be deleted from their computer's hard drive. Destructive Trojans can either be controlled by the hacker or they can be programmed to strike like a logic bomb, starting on a specific day or time. Denial of service or DOS Trojans produce a great amount of internet traffic for a victim's computer. This ultimately leads to making their internet connection too congested to allow them to visit a website or even download a program or file. Proxy or Wingate Trojans convert a victim's computer into a proxy server. This causes the computer to be accessible to the entire globe and can be used for anonymous access to a variety of unsafe internet services. FTP Trojans are the most simple and outdated. Their single intention is to open a port on one's computer numbered 21, which is a port for FTP transfers. This lets anyone connect to a victim's computer via FTP protocol. Lastly, software detection killing Trojans exterminate a victim's antivirus and firewall programs that guard a victim's computer. This, in due course, will give the hacker access to the victim's machine. So, how do we get rid of Trojans? First, we must disconnect from the internet. We need to use a high-quality Trojan scanning program to scan the machine. Once detected, the user should utilize the program and delete the Trojan virus. Unlike most viruses, where infected files need to be cleaned, Trojan horse viruses cannot be cleaned and must be deleted completely off the computer. Trojan horse viruses can really wreak havoc for companies today. Just ask Google. Google was attacked by China's legion of hackers who attempted to steal intellectual property as well as enter the Gmail accounts of many users. At the same time, 20 other large companies were attacked by the same group. The Zeus Trojan is another current example that involved hackers and banks, which we will see a short video clip in a moment about. Companies and local businesses are starting to heavily rely on the FBI, CIA, and Homeland Security to help protect and investigate Trojan activity. Also, companies today are becoming more and more relentless to tell their stockholders once being attacked or infiltrated by a Trojan horse virus. This is because their intellectual property, whether it be economic data, discoveries, or future inventions, it is the substance of their company. The stealing of this property is absolutely terrible news to investors because it could lead to the company's stock price taking a major hit in the near future. An example that could lead to this could be if a hacker somehow retrieved a company's extremely new and successful way of powering cars other than use of fossil fuels and went and sold it to a competitor. Just recently, on September 20th of this year, 10 individuals were arrested and charged with their involvement in the Zeus Trojan horse virus. Let's take a moment and check this Fox News clip which explains about this event in more detail.
This software program, among others, allegedly allowed criminals to spy on bank customers, steal their account information, and then steal their money.
Manhattan U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara charging dozens of people, mostly Russian nationals, with apparently stealing millions of dollars from U.S. banks through the powerful Zeus Trojan virus.
As today's arrests show, the modern high-tech bank heist does not require a gun, a mask, a note, or a getaway car. It requires only the internet.
And here's how they did it. First, you might get an email that looks like it's coming from a social networking site like LinkedIn. Once you click on it, your computer shows a page that says it's redirecting you. But while that's happening, the Zeus Trojan is secretly installing itself. That lets hackers monitor your computer activity and steal your bank account numbers and passwords. But the hackers needed one more ingredient to actually get their hands on the cash, and that's where the money mules came in. These are people living in the U.S. who would set up bank accounts and transfer the monies from the victims into it.
Each of those mules were directed to withdraw portions of that money and then send smaller packets of money back to the originators in Eastern Europe.
Now that we know how to get rid of Trojans, we must ask the question, how do we avoid Trojans? First, do not download files blindly. Second, watch for hidden file extensions. Trojans usually present themselves as executable files with the file extension .exe. Third, do not think you are safe just because you have an antivirus program. Fourth, do not follow unsolicited links or open attachments within an email that you did not ask for. And fifth, use an internet firewall. Some laws put into place to protect consumers in Michigan against Trojan horse viruses are the Fraudulent Access to Computers, Computer Systems, and Computer Networks Act, and some federal laws that protect against fraud and related activity in connection with computers can be found in the 18 U.S. Code, Section 1030. If your computer or computer system has been infiltrated by hackers and the use of Trojans, you can report it to the Michigan State Computer Crimes Unit, which has 2 regions, or go the federal route and contact FBI Local Office, the U.S. Secret Service, or the Internet Crime Complaint Center. This type of action is called for once someone has been a victim of computer intrusion or hacking, as well as password trafficking. So if we have laws in place that protect consumers and local businesses against theft of trade secrets and the use of Trojan horse viruses here in the U.S., what do we do about those criminals who are conducting illicit activity over in Europe? What about Asia, the Middle East, and the rest of the world? This is inevitably going to be a big concern for local businesses and companies in the near future that I think will need to be addressed by the use of treaties among countries. On July 27th of this year, a study came out which revealed that cybercrimes cost organizations in the U.S. an average of $3.8 million per year. This study, which was sponsored by IT security vendor ArcSight, surveyed 45 U.S. companies for a window of 4 weeks over the course of 9 months. While the first ever cost of cybercrime study revealed a vast range, the average bill for the organizations that participated came at a whopping $3.8 million per year. It factored in the cost of information loss, disruption to business, equipment damage, and lost revenue. In looking at the cost of cybercrime from a more global perspective, a study published by McAfee states that cybercrime has cost businesses as much as $1 trillion globally in lost intellectual property and expenditures. This study surveyed 800 chief information officers, and the respondents estimated the loss of data totaling $4.6 billion and another $600 million spent to clean up after breaches. The major problem regarding the threat of international cybercrime is that its strength is the very weakness of our efforts to control it, being able to cross international lines. For example, Russia had recently brought a new cybercrime treaty to the UN earlier this year, but both the European Union and the US refused to countenance this new treaty because they had already had one in place called the Budapest Convention. Russia does not agree with this because of the main provision which grants the selected cybercrime police to have the ability to access servers in other countries without the permission of the authorities. Russia opposes this practice ever since U.S. police hacked computers belonging to Russian men who had been defrauding banks in the year 2000. This is a great example why this type of treaty takes forever to agree on, because not many countries want to give and take all at the same time. With just a click of a button, hackers can use a Trojan horse virus to digitally transport one's capital 7,000 miles and across 3 borders. This is why cooperation is key among countries. A system must be established that will allow a nation's victims to swiftly prosecute criminals without stepping on the toes of another country's sovereignty. It isn't a matter of choice anymore. Rather, it is a must and a matter of national security for multiple countries. Trojan horse viruses are very sneaky malware components, as we are well aware of, and they will be continuously adapting to common defenses in the near future. It is of grave importance that we recognize this fact and make sure we as college students, professors, local businessmen, and corporate executives are constantly checking for the latest ways to defend against Trojan horse viruses. Thank you and good luck.
Don't think it hasn't been a little slice of heaven, 'cause it hasn't.